we are going to be talking about fermenting your chicken feed today. I've been fermenting my chicken feed for, I did it last year a lot during the summer, and I just started doing it again about a month ago, and I've really enjoyed it, and so have the chickens. They absolutely love it. One of the main reasons why I do it and why a lot of other people ferment their chicken feed is, one, because it makes it more nutrient dense, and two, because it saves a lot on the cost of your chicken feed. I will explain the science about how all of this works and exactly what happens when it ferments after I show you how I do it. So let's go. Okay, so this is the type of feed that I use. It's the Nature's Smart Organic scratch grains. I really like them, and I don't think the price is that bad for being non-GMO and organic. I think I am going to switch though eventually to some more whole grains. It's something that's a little more local. Alright, so the first process that I do, this is, I have numbers like 1, 2, and 3, and 4 on this bucket. This is the bucket that I pour the third day one, or like the final stage into, that I eventually just take out into the pasture to feed to the flock. And so so this one, it's got a hole on the bottom. Yeah, it's really muddy because it's got a hole on the bottom, and all of the liquid comes out of this, so I don't have to strain it out, because I know a lot of people strain it out, but I really don't want to have to do that extra process, and so I just dump it into the bucket I'm going to take out, just like that. It smells really good. I know some people like the smell. It's supposed to have like a sweet kind of smell. Sweet and, I don't know, a little bit spicy, kind of like vinegar. I don't know, but it's sweet and I like it. You don't want it to smell nasty. If it smells nasty, then it's probably molded and something went wrong, and there's not very good bacteria in there, and it can hurt your chickens. So make sure that it smells good. And then I'm gonna pour day 2 into this bucket, and so all of the liquid will come out. And normally I have my bucket that's got the hole on it. I normally put it somewhere else, so the liquid doesn't get all over in here just on the ground where we're stepping, because that would be annoying. So yeah, I'll put it in here, and then it will, you don't want to shut the lid all the way, because if you do that, Kenai, go away. Because if you shut the lid all the way, it needs a little bit, it's going to expand, and it's going to, there's going to be gas that's going to rise to the top. And I have had them in jars before. When I first started doing it, I was doing it for like ducklings and for my chicks last year. And I put them in some jars on the counter in the kitchen, and I screwed the lid too tight, and it actually popped the lid off and exploded everywhere. And so I had this just a mash of chick feed just all over the place in the kitchen. That was not fun to have to clean up. So yeah, make sure that that you've got a little bit of just some air for it to breathe. Then I'm gonna take number 1. We'll take number 1 and put it into number 2. So those 2 are done. Now we've got to create a new number 1. I'll show you. Okay, so this is, yeah, it's 16 fluid ounces, so it's about 2 cups. And I'll just fill it up. I'll do 3 of these for my whole flock, because they are free range, and we do have grass growing, and so they get to eat grass and bugs and weeds and all sorts of different things, so they get a lot of other nutrients. That's another reason too why I do scratch grains. Scratch grains are going to be a lot cheaper than if you were going to buy the crumble or the pellet, and because they're free range, I can do the scratch grains because they get their nutrients elsewhere, being out in the pasture. And I have 6 hens and 1 rooster, and then I have 10 ducks. And so I only have to do 3 of these cups, so 6 cups of feed hey, you can't eat that. I only have to do like 6 cups of feed for my entire flock, and they'll eat the whole thing, and they've been doing totally fine on that for the past several weeks. And I'm going to have to up it a little bit more because I'm going to be moving some more hens out there, or some more, go away, older chicks out there soon. So, anyways, let me show you how much water I put in it. Alright, so I will just fill it up. You definitely want the water way past the scratch grains, or whatever they are. So, I don't know if you can see that too well. They're floating at the top right now. But it's about, there, you can see it better on the side. I normally fill it up to right here, so I fill it up about 2 inches above where they're gonna sink, so above the grains. And because it's going to expand a lot, so if you see where that is right now, and then you look at this one, so if you look at that, the scratch greens have expanded a lot, and they'll just continue to expand. So yeah, you just want to make sure that the water is always above the grains, above the feed, because if it's not, then the feed is going to start to mold. And so yeah, you don't want that to happen. We'll take this out later and you'll see how much my flock just loves this. They go absolutely crazy over it. So we will show that. I'll show that in just a little bit, but let's go over the science behind fermenting your chicken feed. Okay, I'm gonna sit on my broken bamboo chair. It's really broken and there's nails sticking out everywhere, but it's safe for the most part. So let's explain the science behind fermenting your chicken feed. Okay, so for the first day of soaking and fermenting your chicken feed, it's going to reduce the phytic acid that is in the grains in your chicken feed, because phytic acid is in most plant-based foods. So phytic acid absorbs minerals, and it can impair the body's ability to, or your animal's body's ability to absorb like iron and calcium and zinc and some other things. So yeah, it reduces the phytic acid, and that's a really good thing. So it can also help your animals to digest those things and to take in the nutrients that they are otherwise mostly not getting. So in 48 hours is when the fermentation process actually begins, and the lactic acid bacteria is introduced, and it builds up and it multiplies, and it basically kicks out the bad bacteria, and it starts to bring in the beneficial microbiome. It is essential for plant health and for plant growth, which is eventually going to go into your animal's body. And if you're going to eat, the eggs or, the meat of your animal, then therefore it's going to be better for you. Now, I do 3 days of fermenting my chicken feed, which I think most people do. There are some people that don't do it that long. I think the longer you do it, the better it's going to be, but really for 3 days, I think I find it the best for me for doing it for 3 days, and also the chickens like it, because if you do ferment it a little bit longer, it might bring on a sour taste that your chickens are not going to like that much. But right now it's at a really good point when it's 3 day. The fermentation is really good, the phytic acid is mostly gone, and the good bacteria have come in. And so your chickens and ducks, or whatever you're feeding your animals, whichever animals you're feeding it to, your animals are going to be able to digest it and absorb those minerals and those vitamins that they need, and get more nutrients from it, versus if it was just dry, if you were just giving it to them dry. Now, I know a lot of people wonder if you can use crumble and pellets versus using the scratch grains or the whole grains. You can. I have done that. For my last year, for my ducklings and for my chicks, I did ferment the crumble, and it turned out okay. There is a possibility that it could mold on the top, and you do not want to give them any mold on the top at all. You want to, make sure you scrape that off, and it would get some weird smells sometimes, because when you ferment the crumble, one, it's really messy. It gets really, really messy, but also two, it expands so much, and it's really hard to keep it below that waterline level, and so it can mold really easily that way. And so I have just liked doing the scratch grains. You can still do it. I have been able to do it. You just have to make sure you scrape that mold off the top and don't give it to your chicks or your ducklings or any of your animals if it does not have a good smell. I have seen the bill for my chicken feed go way down ever since I started fermenting their chicken feed, and especially because I buy the organic and non-GMO, it's going to cost a lot more than just buying the regular, you know, your regular feed. And so it's lasted a lot longer because you don't have to feed them as much. You know, I hear that a lot. I talked about that at the beginning of the video, that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people do it, is because it is way more nutrient dense this way. They don't need as much. If you have any questions about fermenting your chicken feed, just, you know, add it in the comments below and I will definitely get back to you with the knowledge that I have. And yeah, I hope that we see you in the next video. We are out here ready to give the fermented grains, sorry about the sun, fermented grains to the chickens and the ducks. And they're really excited because they've had it for a few weeks now and they've actually really enjoyed it and they just eat it all up. So I'll show you just how excited they get when I dump it out. Come on, chicken. Can you get out of the camera so that I can show them this? Okay, come here. You like it?